Uh, Buongiorno. Hello. My name is Donaldo Telo. Uh, you a teacher, Dr. Lob-EZ. He my cousin, and I come from Rome, and he asking me because you need to learn about the Italy. He asked me if I would teach for him, so I agreed to do that. But before, I must admit, my English is not so good, and also I'm very nervous. So per favore, please forgive me. Okay, va bene. Okay, fine. Today, we talk about the Renaissance, which is a very interesting time period in European history. Today, we talk all about that. Okay? Va bene. Uh, so to start with, the term Renaissance, what does it mean? Well, you see right here, it in red, it's a rebirth of art and learning of antiquity, which simply means a long time ago, during the time period of ancient Greece and Rome. Okay? Okay. So the term Renaissance, I mean the rebirth. Dr. Lob-EZ, he tell me that you know what all these little arrows and Q1. He said that you have a study guide. It is like this, and that you will know how to answer all these questions. So I hope for you, he are not lying. Okay, so that definition is only part of what we need to know. There are some other elements of the Renaissance that you need to know. For example, the perfection of the individual and something called secularism, which is, well, that is kind of a complicated term and one best left to discussing in just un momento. Um, but you should know that it took place 1350 to 1527, and that it first took place in a city right here called Florence. But in Italian, it's Firenze. Okay, fine. We go to the next slide. Okay, so one of the things that we need to understand is that the Middle Ages, the period that you just get done studying, no? Dr. Lob-EZ tells me you all did very well on a test and that you learned all about the Middle Ages. Okay, so that period is now over, but we enter a time known as the modern age. And what that means is that people don't act the same that they did before. So, one of the events of the Middle Ages that caused big change was, of course, the bubonic plague, also known as the Black Death. Yes, the Black Death, which is responsible for the death of some 25 million people, had a drastic impact on the people of Europe and the way that they live a day life. So much so that historians widely agree that this period helped usher in lots of changes. Okay, va bene. So, for example, when you live in the Middle Ages, most people not very educated, people not, or what do you say? Oh yeah, since they're not so educated, they are superstitious. Even though they're very religious, they kind of are frightened all the time, um, and they don't travel too far from their home. Many people, if they're lucky enough to live in a village, don't go too far from their home, so they don't know much about what goes on in the world. So they have a very simple understanding of life, and for them, they kind of expect that they're going to die soon and that their life not supposed to be too much of fun, because if they have too much of fun, they're going to get in trouble with the big guy upstairs, God. And they think that if they spend too much time focusing on this life, they will anger God and he will curse them and he will send down some diseases, much like the bubonic plague, who many people thought was punishment from God. Yes? Yes. Yes. I said yes. Why do you keep asking me? It's yes. Okay. Fine. Anyway, what do I lose my train of thought? Okay, so the medieval mindset also thought that life was supposed to be part of punishment, and that way, if it is, then they are preparing their soul so that when they die, they get to go to heaven. Okay, does that make a sense? And because of this, there are very few changes in the late Middle Ages because the people, um, just like I said, they don't want to upset the apple cart, as they say, so they don't challenge things, and that way nothing ever changes, and so life is sort of simple, and that's a way they like it. Okay, so not only do things change drastically um, during the due to the bubonic plague, um, which I'll explain. For those people who survived the bubonic plague, many people feel happy and they kind of want to celebrate, and so they uh, tend to think that they have a new lease on life, and since they have a new lease on life, they want to, party a little, have fun, but not in a way that they would upset God. So they just feel happy and they want to celebrate life just a little bit more. Okay, fine. Here is something. Mr. Dr. Lob-EZ, he tell me you talk about Constantinople, capital of Byzantine Empire, and that you remember from some maps and a PowerPoint, you look at these walls. These are the walls that protect the city of Constantinople. I believe it is the Wall of Theodosius, no? Um, Anyway, in 1453, these people called the Ottoman Turks lay siege and destroy the walls of the city. And these big guns, see these cannons, they go boom. The big, the big guns go boom, and the booming of the walls make them break, and then they come in and kill everybody. So even before 1453, when all this terrible mayhem and catastrophe happened, many scholars decide that they are scared for their lives, and so they get in boats and they go to Italy, mainly Rome, and they want to bring with them manuscripts from ancient Greece, and they come in contact with the Italian scholars, and they share each other with them the manuscripts from ancient Greece. And these Italian scholars are very excited to learn about the works of very ancient philosophers and thinkers and authors, etc., etc. Okay, And this is very important because big part of Renaissance is based on education, especially the revival, as I said, of ancient Greece and Rome. Anyway, okay, so here we go. We must know that there are reasons also financial that make the Renaissance possible. So, from financial, like economic reasons, Italy, not a unified country, but just a peninsula hanging out in the Mediterranean Sea, is the home of many Italian city-states. And these city-states engage in lots of trade. Um, in the last unit, you missed Dr. Lob-EZ talk about the revival of trade from the Crusades. Yeah, you remember that? Um, the people who do all the trade are Italians, okay? Because they the best people in the world. Sorry. It's true. Anyway, they bring all these trade goods to the rest of Europe, right? And as a result of all of that, they get very rich, okay? And not only that, many of these Italian city-states are also manufacturing centers, and they sell their goods all over Europe, and they make lots of money, and they make them rich, okay? Uh, if you look at question number 4, it is asking you to, you know, explain why the Renaissance originated in Italy. It's for economic reasons because they have all kinds of money, and you're going to see that they want to show off the wealth of their cities as sort of bragging rights among the other fellow cities. And the bigger the houses and all the beautiful buildings in their city, the more powerful they appear to their neighbors. And so that is why many historians think that the Renaissance begins there. Okay? So, yes, here it says some of the goods that were manufactured in these Italian city-states. And I think the good Dr. Lob-EZ also, on question number 5 of your study guide, he wants you to fill in this outline of a map with all of these different city-states. So please pay attention to the, PowerPoint slides that I showed you with the maps and whatnot. Okay, so here is something else too that you should know, and that is that feudalism. Oh, you can't see because this is in the way, so I'll just do this. Isn't that neat? Okay, so from a political standpoint, feudalism begins to die out in Italy. Why? Because uh, Italy is no longer rural, it is urban, and therefore the merchants are much more wealthy and more powerful and influential in Italian politics. Feudal nobles less so. So many begin to move to the cities, nobles, but that's not important. But just understand that power transfer to from the nobles and to the merchants in these cities. Okay, va bene. We go to next slide, shall we? Okay. So here is something too from a social standpoint, and I believe this is in reference again to number 4, um, that there are social ranks in society, and in the Middle Ages, you had the king and you had the nobles and then the knights, and way down at the bottom you had the peasants or the serfs, and that Dr. Lob-EZ told you, I know, that you were locked into those positions you were born into, and there's no hope to change. However, because of the change in this new economy, the merchants can become very powerful, and many of them came from simple beginnings. And Nobody handed them nothing, so they did not inherit their social rank. They earned it through hard work. Something that some of you may not be too familiar with, huh? Anyway, I digress. Okay, so yes, individual merit is something that means if you work hard, you earn what it is that you get. Okay, and when society is based on that, lots of changes. So these are the social changes. So lots of merit and people earning their way instead of being given things like in the old way of feudalism. Okay. Now, let's go to the next one. This Dr. Lob-EZ don't know how to count so good because these questions are not in order. So for him, I apologize. I don't know why he do that. Perhaps he was up late one night and he was drinking too much vino and he got confused. He is an old man and, so don't be too hard on him. So thank you. Let's look at the question number two. It is asking, who are these people known as the señores? The señores were the merchants who were very powerful in the cities and they ran the government. Okay, señore. Can you say that with me? No, that's wrong. Signore. Okay, fine. But these are the people who grow very rich and famous because of the trade, and they are the most important people, and they're the big guys, and they make all the decisions. Okay, no more kings and no more nobles making the decisions. It's the signores. They the head of the merchant families. Okay, fine. Next slide. Okay, so we know that there was one family in particular. Here, I'll go down now. Wait, there we go. So I'm not in the way of the pretty map. Okay, so the one family, the Medici, were the merchant family of Florence that became rich and powerful, and they were involved in trade for a long time, but then they get a new business called banking, okay? And that makes them even more wealthy and powerful. And so they are like the only kind of family, merchant family, that you need to know who they are, okay? Uh, and they help fund the Renaissance because the Renaissance gets launched in Florence, right? We said that. And it was because of this family, so much money they have. They pay all these artists, like Michelangelo and Leonardo and Donatello and Raphael. The Ninja Turtles. Yes, you watch too much TV here in the USA. You don't read many books, do you? Okay, watching all the TikTok videos. So anyway, this here is a coin, a florin, a gold florin, which was the money that they made in the Florence for the banking family. So they make these beautiful palaces and pay these artists and architects to build up all this stuff. And then the other families in Venice and in Rome, and Genoa, they get jealous, and so they try to compete, and then they hire the artists and the architects to build up their cities, and that is more or less what gets the Renaissance underway. So it is a movement of culture, high culture, etc. And the Medici family are the ones who are behind it. So all of the wealthy families, they that fund the artists, they call patrons. Okay, patrons of the arts. Yes, yes. Okay, va bene. Next slide. Where are we on the study guide? It says question number 6. Oh yeah, we said this term secularism. Okay, so I am not sure what this is. This thing, it keeps sticking. It won't move. It's Italian. Fiorina Oro Firenze Perlato 1252. I have no idea what that is. Okay, so you must know that, okay, secularism is, it means worldliness. Well, what in the devil does that mean? Well, it means that the focus of people at the Renaissance is no longer so much about God and how to get to heaven. Secularism is, the focus of one's life is more about now, here and now, not what comes later. And another part of that is about how to make the world a better place, not only for you, but your family and really everybody. And so, because things don't change too much during the Middle Ages, this is a new idea, like new way of thinking. Progress is the word. There's more focus on progress, how to make the world better. And so the focus is on the here and the now. Please don't mean, or please don't take that to mean that it means that people were not religious, because they were still very devoutly religious. They just focused more on their lives, and how to make the world a better place for everybody. Okay, fine. Um, okay, so you see the difference between medieval and more modern Renaissance thinking is, how to make the world better. And secularism is just one of those themes of the Renaissance. Uh, I think I said all of this already. Okay, yes, I did. Let's go. Let's talk about some of the authors of these time period. Okay. So humanism is, a term that means, sort of similar to secularism, progress, but it also focuses on human achievement, okay? And it celebrates excellence in human achievement. In what kind? Everything. It don't matter whether it be for intellectual enterprises, or it could be the creation of art, things of beauty. It could be even physical challenges, and knowing how to ride a horse, and be very effective with your sword in the way that you fight. It could be really anything. And so, again, during the Middle Ages, they don't focus on excellence in pretty much anything other than their faith. And so, with the Middle Ages coming to a close, they focus on excellence. And the reason why maybe they do this is because when they rediscover the ancient Greeks and the Romans, they learned from them that that was something that they prized as well, humanism. That humans are blessed with unlimited potential, and it is their duty, he said, duty. It is their duty to do their utmost in developing all of their talents, and to use them to make the world a better place. And this they get from the Greeks and the Romans. And by studying all of those ancient texts, that's what they figure out. And so the term humanist is a person who does just that, study all the ancient Greek and Roman, and is more or less an expert. And they are authors themselves, writing about it for a new audience, taking some of these old ideas and maybe adding new thoughts and considerations. And when they do not spend their time writing books, they also double as tutors for, the children of those wealthy patron families. They might want their children to get a good classical education, so they hire these humanist authors to tutor their children. Okay, and sometimes they even establish the schools for the little children. Okay, like the type of school you are in today. Okay, so the first man down here, and this gentleman here in this picture who has these leaves on his head, his name is Petrarch, and he is known as the father of humanism because he was somebody as a scholar who wanted to know as much as possible about ancient Rome. And you know where he went to get all of the teachings? You should know this already. Dr. Lob-EZ, I know, has taught you this. They went to the monasteries, he did, and began to find that these little monks had kept these wonderful libraries of ancient Roman texts. And so, with the combination of the Greek scholars coming over from Constantinople, and then the finding of ancient manuscripts in the monasteries. There's lots of old stuff now made new and rediscovered for all, and so everybody's so happy. And anyway, he was a poet, and that is not so much important. But I want to talk about these funny leaves on his head. They are laurel leaves, and it was a sign of wisdom. And so ancient scholars oftentimes are depicted with leaves of laurel around their head. Okay. It also means victory, and it was something that the Roman emperors used to wear on their head. The laurel leaves too, but for them it meant victory, not wisdom so much. Okay, fine. Next, I think I say all I want about this idea, but number 7 asks you to uh, answer what the humanists stressed. I think I say it all already. So we go to the next slide, and oh my gosh, there's even more about humanists. And I think that yes, I am so good. I already tell you this, so I am ahead of the game, so to speak. So now we move on. Okay, let's talk about some of the other authors, and their names are important for you to know. And the first man, his name is Dante Alighieri. He is an Italian, and he writes this book called The Divine Comedy, a very famous old book, but it is not funny. So the name is not what you think, and it's a very serious story, and it is one that is written in the vernacular because Dante knew that few people knew how to read Latin, but that many knew how to read Italian. So to offer his book to a wider audience, he decided to write in Italian. So he is one of the men responsible for helping create modern Italian, and he is one of the first to deviate away from writing in Latin. Okay, not too exciting, I know, but it's something that you have to know. Okay, so this book written by Dante stars himself. He is in the book, in the story, and one day he's walking through the woods and he is chased by these animals to a cave. And then in this cave, he finds the entrance to hell. And afraid for his own life, he goes into this cave. He does not yet know that it is hell, but he meets this man whose name is Virgil, hanging out sort of in the entrance. And this man, Virgil, is known to Dante because he is familiar with ancient works of ancient Rome. So this guy, Virgil, takes Dante all to hell, okay? And together they go down the 9 circles of hell. The first being limbo, and limbo just simply mean it's a place in hell that people who come before Christ, who uh, could not possibly be saved, that's where they go because they're not Christians, and so limbo is where they go. And then each one of these circles, the suffering of the people in the various circles gets worse and worse and worse, and the sins that they are guilty of gets a worse and worse and worse and worse. And interestingly enough, Dante even put some of the people who live at his own time in hell, and that might be because he is saying that they are bad people. But anyway, the story is rather curious, but interesting at the same time. And in it, he say that if you um, study the mistakes of people, you can learn how to uh, not only avoid hell for your own self, but you can learn how to do good things. And many of these people are guilty of sins that are like the seven deadly sins. Like here, I show you this. These are the seven deadly sins: gluttony, greed, anger, wrath, like I think that means revenge, um uh, gluttony. I think it means you eat too much, but also you kind of lazy. But anyway, if you turn those things around into something positive, uh, you make them into virtues. And so, what Dante say with this book is that not only do you need Christianity to avoid the pitfalls of hell and gain salvation, but if you study the Greeks and the Romans, also you learn how to live your life in a meaningful and good way, and that it will be a life well lived. All right. So he is the first really to say that, and he is sometimes considered the first modern author. Okay. And that here is Dante with the laurel leaves, and that is Virgil, his guide through hell. Okay. So we go. This is the sign that I mentioned at the gate of hell, or at the cave right on the outside. And that's what he read when he first go into hell. Okay, so let's talk about something else, and then we wrap this up. I will say I stutter quite a bit, and I talk slowly. So, for your listening pleasure, I recommend that when you view this YouTube video, that you watch it on faster speeds so that you don't get bored to tears. Okay, fine. Um, so there was okay, so lots of competition between these Italian city states, and they formed alliances with one another, and sometimes those alliances were not enough to be victorious. So some of these city states began to ask for the assistance of foreign countries like Spain and France, and even a little of the Holy Roman Empire, but you're not so familiar with that term yet, so don't worry about it. But understand this: these foreign countries came to Italy and they fought for control, first as allies of the Italian city states, but then they fought for control of the peninsula themselves because they knew how much wealth there was. Okay, so during this time in the late 1400s, 1494, Italy descended into chaos. It was a very violent time. Okay, and so many people hoped that a good leader would emerge. Yeah, a leader who could liberate and unite Italy. Well, first unite Italy and then liberate it from these foreign countries. And so one such author, his name is Niccolo Machiavelli, wrote a book about just this very topic. And the book is called The Prince. And in this book, he gives all kinds of advice on how a leader should be. Um, and his ideas are new, okay? Because previously, this guy, Augustine of Hippo, who talked about, original sin and the need for baptism. He also talked too about the qualities of leadership, and that kings should be Christian, meaning their behavior should be very godlike. And Machiavelli, he don't like this too much. He say that a king who is too good and too loving by his people might be mistaken for being weak, and therefore they might try to take him over, revolt, rebel, etc. And so Machiavelli says, no, in fact, a king might need to be just the opposite. He might need to be hard and scary and even a little mean so that the people don't overthrow him and that they act right. And that way he can bring order to his kingdom and things will be peaceful. Well, does that make a sense? It should. It does to me. Okay. And he said, yeah, the world is wicked, and people are wicked, and therefore, if a king or a prince want to be successful, he might need to be wicked too. So he, shouldn't have to worry about being Christian because what's more important is peace and order and strength, right? And so those are the kinds of pieces of advice that he gives, and he is known for that book. He is remembered as the father of modern politics. Okay, the prince, and I know Dr. Lob-EZ is going to have you read some excerpts from this book because there's lots of important things that it has to say, and he does it. He knows that you don't like to read, so he is secretly mean, very mean man, and he wants to punish you by making you read because he wants to give you all headaches. That's what he told me. Okay, so these two questions deal with some very important concepts, and I think Dr. Lob-EZ will do these in class with you so you don't have to freak out so much and cry yourself to sleep that your class is so hard. Okay. Here's one more guy we talk, and then I think that's it for the day. And then you never have to see me. Well, maybe I do one more lesson about the Renaissance art, so maybe not so much. Anyway, this guy's name is Baltazare Castiglione, or just Castiglione. He wrote a book called The Book of the Courtier. Okay, and this book was devoted to the wealthy of Europe, and especially the people who, because of their wealth and influence, like these merchants, might find themselves in the audience of a king, and that they therefore need to know how to act properly with good manners. And yeah, so he writes a book called The Book of the Courtier. A courtier is a member of a court, meaning the social council or political council for a king. Okay, and he talked about all the different characteristics that a noble should have, and especially he focused on how one must be skilled in many different areas, and that he should show off his talents, but not in a way to brag, but just to focus on the wonders that humans are capable of. And so that is the purpose. And there is a term called Renaissance man to describe just such a man, a universal man who excels in many fields. Okay, and so that is the book that Castiglione wrote, and it helped develop the culture, and it helped make people more refined, and it make them less gross in their behavior. Okay. Um, what else? Oh, one more question. He also writes about the characteristics and qualities of a woman, and that a woman should also be given a good education so that she can also be part of the court, and then she could be a good person to talk to by the men for entertainment value. And he said this, he said that when women are around, the men act better. If women are not around, they are gross. And so if you don't want a man to be vulgar and gross, women should be around. And if they're going to be at the court, then they should be receiving education so they know what to talk about with the men, so they can carry on intelligent conversations. Okay? Does that make a sense? He don't say that women should get equality or jobs or anything like that, but he do say that they should get good education. All right, that's all for now, children. Thank you so much. Uh, uh, ciao.